Three factory bikes all have their strong points. The Ducati is obviously, they've only got one bike in the field, so they're doing all the development with that.
In my opinion, they're not quite there yet. They're fast, but the bike isn't quite reliable.
The factory Ducati is more than capable of winning races compared to the Yamaha, who have been on their bike for 2 seasons, and the factory Honda, who have had their bike forever.
I've ridden the Honda, and the Honda's definitely a good handling bike. It does everything really, really nice.
Over the years, you've seen a big rivalry between Honda and Yamaha, the big players really around the world. It's been hard for someone like Ducati to race in Australia because it costs a lot of money to run a European bike generally.
Well, the Yamaha seems to be, working everywhere really well at the moment. The whole package, the electronics. Once you can get it into the corner, it's pretty much easy to get out the other side.
Mike Jones is a tough one to see beating me. You never want to see the young blokes coming up and beating you. Definitely making me push to new limits on the bike.
Troy Herfoss, he's a hothead, gets out there, has run me wide a few times, so I want to try and get it back on him.
Wayne Maxwell is an extremely confident man, smart, a bit arrogant.
Troy Herfoss is a smiling assassin. He's always smiling, but once it comes to a race, he'll give you absolutely nothing.
Glenn Allerton is someone I've never really understood. We've never had a real relationship, to be honest, but I think we both have respect for each other.
Glenn Allerton, he's like a dog with a bone, and once he gets a sniff and thinks he can win, you'll never get rid of him.
Racing a circuit like Barbagallo is fantastic. I really enjoy the circuit.
The track I really enjoy because it's got the characteristics of a supermoto track. I love the flip-flops and the blind turns.
The basin, there's so much sliding on the exit, the bike's drifting sideways, trying to get full throttle on. Now that we're halfway through the season, it's game time.
As the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship goes beyond the halfway mark, tension is rising among the sport's elite, who are all striving to win the most sought-after trophy in Australian road racing. In 2016, Australia's premier class, the mighty Superbikes, have produced a theatre of thrills. And as Barbagallo Raceway near Perth prepares to host round 4, you're guaranteed nothing less than unbridled white-knuckle action. Our coverage presented by Yamaha Motor Finance, Yamaha Motorcycle Insurance, Motul and Pirelli.
Hello and thanks for joining us here at Barbagallo for round 4 of the Australian Superbike Championship. We've got a lot of action coming your way today. Of course, Jason Crump, as always, is joining us and he's been down in the pits. You've been talking to Mike Jones, the man on pole this weekend. That's right, not a Yamaha, but a Ducati on pole, something new. What do you think about that, Jace?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought the lap Mike strung together in Superpole yesterday was fantastic. 55 flat, fastest lap ever around Barbagallo on a motorcycle. Great for everybody that it's not a Yamaha on pole. It's going to make for an exciting race today, that's for sure.
Well, Jason caught up with Mike down in the pits. Let's go and hear what he had to say.
Yeah, look, I'm absolutely ecstatic. That was a fantastic lap time. The team have been working really hard. The Desmo Sport Ducati team have been working really hard these last couple of days to give me the setup. And, to go out there on the Pirelli tyres and go on qualifying and set a time like that is just fantastic. I'm ecstatic. I just couldn't be happier. The other guys have been really strong, particularly in qualifying. But to come out here today and get on pole position is a real confidence booster. But I'm looking for the top step.
Good luck with that, and here to present you with a new set of tyres for the race tomorrow, Dave Fuller from Pirelli.
It looks like Mike Jones is up for it today. He hasn't had a win yet. He definitely needs one here at Wanneroo. The opening rounds, though, they've been action-packed also. Here's a recap.
In 2016, we are underway. Great start by the pole setter Wayne Maxwell out of turn 12 on the main straight. Allerton, bike 14. Glenn Allerton, a fantastic win. What a weekend! 3 starts, 3 wins. And we're set for a start underway. Herfoss began well, the pole sitter.
Hard one, take the overall win and lap record and get a race win.
Underway in race number 1, and Wayne Maxwell is going to win race 1 of 2 at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Oh, find his groove, he's off.
Fouls on down. We've put the commentator's curse on the South Australian. It is great to have your company on 7, mate. Welcome to our coverage of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship from Barbagallo Raceway in Western Australia. A quick check of the points shows you just how close it is. At the top of the leaderboard, it is Glenn Allerton, 2 points clear of his Yamaha racing teammate Wayne Maxwell, then the Honda of Troy Herfoss and the Ducati of Mike Jones. I'm joined by former national champion Steve Martin. There is the circuit layout.
Yeah, I mean, it's very critical here to get out of that turn 6 very quick. The guy that wins the race today will have the best drive up that hill, and that's what they've all been working for in practice.
Okay, let's head down at this juncture to triple World Speedway champion Jason Crump on the grid.
Here we go, the start of Superbike Race 1. It's actually a pretty short run to the first corner here at Barbagallo. It's only 195 metres from pole position man Mike Jones to the entry of the first turn, but that's plenty of time to build up some speed on one of these big superbikes. As we spoke about yesterday, Mike Jones put it on pole position with an outright lap record, fastest lap ever around Barbagallo Raceway on a motorcycle. Guy who was pretty impressive in qualifying yesterday was Glenn Allerton. Strung a load of laps together of a very consistent pace. Glenn, starting from P3, feeling pretty confident about the pace you can keep up for the race?
Yeah, for sure. You know, throughout all the practice sessions, I was fairly consistent and probably the leading guy as far as consistency goes. Just in the qualifying, right at the end there at Superpole, we didn't get it done, but you know, we're up here on the front row and it's going to be a long race, 20 laps, so really confident that I've got what it takes to win this race.
As you said, it's 20 laps. It is a short circuit, predominantly right-hand corners. Right-hand side of the tyre is going to cop a fair workout.
Yeah, it's going to be, the last part of the race is going to be difficult because the tyres are going to get a workout, so it's about who can look after their tyre and still be fast.
Thanks to Glenn Allerton and Jason Crump on the grid. Cool conditions here in Western Australia. Bikes embarking now on their warm-up lap for race number 1. We'll check the starting grid for you. The Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship. Mike Jones on the Desmo Sport Ducati on pole. Wayne Maxwell and Glenn Allerton sharing the front row with him. And Troy Herfoss, Daniel Fowles on good job. Likewise, Crew Halliday. Row 3, Ben Burke, Braden Elliott and Matty Walters on the Kawasaki. Ben Stronach, Jamie Stouffer, Adam Senior, Sloan Frost, Ryan Hampton, Adam Chambers, Trent Gibson, Scott Pettit, Tony Keogh, Keith Harrison, Nathan Spiteri, Pete Berry, and Raj Sarin occupies position 22 on the grid. Stay with us, a break, and we're coming back with a start in a moment. Welcome back to 7 Mates coverage, round 4 of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship. We're trackside at Barbagallo Raceway in Western Australia. The Ducati, right-hand side of screen, of Mike Jones is the pole sit-up. Underway, good start by him, a better one, however, by Wayne Maxwell on the Yamaha Racing R1 factory bike 47, although just as I say that, Troy Herfoss on the cranked Protein Honda nips up on the inside and takes the lead on bike 17. Here they come, Steve.
Yeah, what a great start there by Maxwell. Bit of a Crew Halliday in the background, had a bit of a wobble too. There's Daniel Fowles on. He's been performing well all weekend.
It's not the first time we've seen Troy Herfoss get a brilliant start. It's one of his major strengths as a rider. And let's face it, he's got several.
Yeah, he certainly has, but he needs to get off the line fast here. He hasn't been on the pace all weekend. We heard earlier on from him, and he said that he was about 0.3 of a second a lap off the fastest guys here at this Barbagallo circuit. So he needs to get a lead if he can out there and try and hold the Yamahas and Ducatis off, and also Ben Burke on the Kawasaki there as long as he can. There's Jamie Stauffer trying to go around the outside of Crew Halliday.
Up the main straight they run at Barbagallo. The pace is a cracker up front. Herfoss under siege from Wayne Maxwell. Of course, Troy emerging victorious in race 1 of 2 at Wakefield Park near Goulburn in the second round of the championship. He's been one of the more consistent riders as Stauffer, his teammate, still very much on the comeback trail from serious injury. We now ride on board the Yamaha R1, the Caterpillar mainline dyno racing entry of Daniel Falzon from South Australia.
Yeah, Falzon really has been right up there, and he's just behind Ben Burke on track at the moment. There's Crew Halliday. We saw him have a moment earlier on, but hopefully he can get some composure and start to challenge the guys up the front at the moment. But Wayne Maxwell looks up the inside. He's already looking for a way past of Herfoss.
Yeah, Mike Jones, meantime, Steve, is harassing Maxwell's teammate Glenn Allerton. In fact, Jones, just as I speak, is blasted by on the inside of Allerton to move up one spot. Of course, Mike Jones, the defending Australian champion, swept all before him in 2015 on the Cube Racing entry. They are tightly packed up front. Ben Burke, what a job he is doing on bike 60, a privateer effort, the Kawasaki ZX-10R.
Good to see Braden Elliott on the knobby underwear machine, Suzuki GSXR right up there as well in his maiden Superbike year. But this is the action up front. There's Allison. We're on board with the Ducati of Mike Jones.
Yeah, Braden Elliott, just dwelling on him for a moment. Very meritorious effort this season. Of course, he is the reigning Australian Super Sport champion. Meanwhile, Maxwell gets up on the inside of Troy Herfoss, and here's Allerton having a crack at Mike Jones as well. Tremendous racing, round 4 of the Australian Superbike Championship.
Yeah, both Yamahas very hard on the brakes there, making it difficult for Jones to forge his way to the front. Don't forget, David, that Jones got a new lap record in qualifying, 55.0, the fastest man ever around this Barbagallo circuit.
Round 5 of this championship coming up at Morgan Park Raceway at Warwick in Queensland, August 5 to 7. One of the better rounds last year. If you live close by, pop out and have a look at these amazing motorcycles in action.
Down into the bowl. This turn 6 is the most critical corner on this circuit. There's a lot of tyre wear up this hill. It looks a lot steeper in real life than it does on the TV here, but you really do get good drive up that hill, and you have to preserve your tyre because you need it big time in the last few laps.
Steve, Daniel Falzon very much back on the pace this weekend. On bike 25, there he is. He's had a few uncharacteristic crashes in the last couple of rounds, but he's got his head together here.
Yeah, I mean, Falzon is really riding perfectly and learning all the time. I mean, there was a time where, you know, he wasn't really on the pace of these guys up the front, but now, week in, week out, he can challenge for a podium. And I mean, the Caterpillar team have come on a long, long way in the last year. Remember, it's only Daniel's second year on a Superbike, and this team is doing it all in-house themselves. So to run with these guys and teams up front, immaculate stuff.
For Suzuki, we now check out the replay of the start. And as I described it at the time, it was Maxwell that got the jump, but no sooner did we say that, and obviously we saw Troy Herfoss storm up the inside. Now here's the view from Daniel Falzon's bike. Wham, there goes Braden Elliott. He got away quickly too.
Look at Ben Burke around the outside too. He got a great jump off the start, but hasn't been able to capitalise on it during the race.
Race continues here at Barbagallo Raceway. Fine but extremely cool. And Maxwell now under siege from Dynamite Jones.
Yeah, you can see now after 10 laps halfway through the race, the bike's starting to move around up that hill and over the top of the crest of the hill. Great wheelie opportunity there, but you need to get drive down into this braking area, turn 7, very critical, because that, David, is the corner that can determine the outcome of this race.
Yes, most certainly. Here's Maxwell. And a real motor race on our hands here. Jones on the inside. And the reigning Australian champion aboard the Desmo Sport Ducati gets to the front.
remember that Jones hasn't had a win on this Ducati yet, so this is a very important race for him. He's done everything perfect in practice and qualifying, but he needs to get the win here today, and to beat someone like Wayne Maxwell means that you've really deserved it.
Great stuff, and a replay for Suzuki. That's how Jones was able to effect the inside move. Maxwell leaving just a little room. We'll take a break, and the race will continue. Good to have your company. Welcome back to Barbagallo Raceway at Wanneroo in Western Australia, an iconic motor racing venue on the West Coast. Lap 16 of 20, Mike Jones in advance of Wayne Maxwell, followed back in third by Daniel Falzon in advance of Glenn Allerton. Not far to go in this one, so Mike Jones is doing as he threatened to do, Steve Martin. He was scintillating in Superpole, and he goes right on with the job here.
Yeah, he's out front, and he can't pull away from Maxwell, though. We're on board with Falzon at the moment. Oh, I don't know if going around the outside of these guys is the right thing to do, but he... Oh, look at that. Allerton right up the inside. Falzon back to fourth. Allerton took a big lunge into turn 6. Oh! Falzon, that is too close, and look at the time he's lost there.
Gee, he'll be ruining that decision. You called it at the time, passing on the outside.
It's always difficult in those situations. Oh, we've got a faller.
It's Sarin.
Oh,
it's Sarin, Raj Sarin, the rider that started the race from position number 22. Meanwhile, up front it is still Mike Jones being hounded by Wayne Maxwell. We'll check the replay of this incident with Sarin. Here it is on bike 20.
That's Crew Halliday up the inside there and sent Sarin off into the kitty litter. So that's the end of his race, unfortunately.
Gotta say, Steve, that kitty litter is as deep.
It is deep.
As anywhere you'd see, and
absolutely.
It'd be like hitting quicksand.
Yeah, I mean, it's as deep as you get, but on track, Wayne Maxwell is looking for an opportunity to get past the Desmo Sport Ducati up the inside, but Mike Jones is so strong on the brakes into the last turn that Maxwell can't do it there.
So battle continuing. We look out the back of our race leader, Mike Jones. Now the wide shot as they approach Yamaha Motorcycle Insurance Corner at the end of the main straight. Final lap now, and Maxwell is certainly close enough, and we know he's good enough. We are in for a thrilling finish here.
Yeah, I mean, look how close Wayne is. He's really giving it everything he's got now. He's diving up the inside to the left, to the right, tighter there. Probably try and have a dive down into the bowl as they head out there through the blind turn 5. He's on the inside there, but Mike Jones, once again, look how deep he is on the brakes. Good job there by Mike Jones as they head up the hill for the last time. This is pretty much Wayne Maxwell's last opportunity as they head over the top of the crest.
Yeah, Jones has managed to put some space in between himself and his nearest rival down the hill. Maxwell quick through there, the final right-hander onto the main straight. The Desmo Sport Ducati, the reigning Australian champion, takes the checker in the West. And Jones is delighted about that. Maxwell doing his championship prospects no harm at all. Super consistent again in second place. And Allerton in third position. We'll recap the placings for you in a moment, but good job, Mike Jones.
Oh, that was fantastic to see. Ducati up the top with Mike Jones. Wayne Maxwell second, Glenn Allerton in third. Good to see Herfoss up there too. Falzon 7 seconds behind. Could have finished third there. Ben Burke in sixth. Crew Halliday in seventh.
Yep, then it was down to Braden Elliott, Jamie Stauffer, Ben Stronach, positions 11 through to 18 you can see, and a couple of DNFs by virtue of incidents on the circuit, and some hard luck stories there in the shape of Spiteri and Matt Walters too. Tremendous ride by Mike Jones. Well done to all riders that figured prominently at the pointy end. There's Ben Henry, co-team owner, along with Troy Bayliss, congratulating their rider, and this is what the top 3 had to say.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously it's still working on the starts there, but the Desmo Sport Ducati team have given me a fantastic bike, and to get out there in that race and get comfortable. And of course, with the Pirelli tyre, we came strong towards the end, and as you've seen, be able to get into the lead there and maintain it and hang on to the end.
Yeah, look, I was eager to fight a lot more, and then as I seen the gap grow to Glenn, I was like, okay, just do what we have to do, make sure we can finish and get some points back on Glenn.
Oh, you can't win them all, but I would have liked to have been in the fight at the end there, but I just didn't have enough grip to go with those guys. It seemed like the first half of the lap and then the last corner I was really, really strong, but the main part of this circuit, like I said on Friday, is getting up out of the basin, and I just couldn't get out of there with these two.
"47-year-old Steve Martin is one of the most respected figures in Australian motorcycle racing. Born in Adelaide, Martin enjoyed a long and distinguished career that saw him claim the World Endurance Championship, an Australian Superbike Championship, and numerous other blue ribbon events. In the World Superbike Championship, Martin is a veteran of 183 race starts, but since retiring in 2008, he's established himself as one of the most sought-after commentators in the sport globally. He's also an official ambassador for the Australian Superbike Championship. He says the ASBK has played a pivotal role in his career.
The ASBK has been a very important part of my life. I mean, if I didn't do the ASBK, I wouldn't have got to race overseas. It was so tough back in the early days. You know, you had a lot of the stars that ended up going overseas, and I was lucky enough to compete in those years when, you know, it was very tough and the competition was hard, and I think it toughened me up.
Steve says many of the sport's top Australian riders owe a lot to the National Superbike Championship.
When I look back, you know, the Baylisses, the Courses, you know, the Anthony Goberts, there was just about anybody who ever made it anywhere in road racing. They all came through when I was there, and you know, we had a lot of factory involvement back then as well. So many guys that went on to win world championships came through this Australian Superbike Championship.
Martin describes his role as an official ambassador for the Australian Superbike Championship as truly meaningful.
It's really good for me to be back and involved with ASBK after a long stint overseas. I was over there for 12 years, but to come back, it just made sense to get back in touch with my roots, and it's the best thing I ever could have done because it settled me. To be involved in watching all the young guys doing what I went through, it really gives me a buzz. Being an ASBK ambassador is an absolute bonus because it means I get to come to the track. Not only can I help and give advice to all the young riders, but I get to get out on track as well and give, you know, the Ride of the Life pillions, involved with the TV, and, you know, offer advice if it's needed as well from, you know, the experience and all the other championships I've done. So for me, I really do feel like I've come home.
Martin, who in addition to his Superbike exploits also rode in 4 500cc Grand Prix, relishes the fact that the sport produces great camaraderie between riders, and it wasn't always the case.
You know, back in the day, you know, we wanted to just beat each other so bad that we could never really be best of friends. I had a joke with Jolesy the other day about he helps a young rider out, and I said to his young rider, you got to listen to Sean Giles at this track because at this track he's very fast. He was slow everywhere else. You know, that's something you couldn't say back in the day, but you can get away with it now.
Ironically, this weekend's host venue at Wanneroo in Perth has proven a happy hunting ground for Steve Martin.
Yeah, I mean, it started in '89 for me here. I won my first Australian Championship here. In '90, I won my first Superbike race here. It really has been a special place for me, and I enjoy coming here. It hasn't changed a lot, but it really does bring me back to that, you know, what we were talking about before, which is the grassroots of racing.
I'll tell you what, mate, we've seen some good racing today.
Yeah, it has been fantastic, but there's something that's been on my mind, David, I need to ask you.
Well, I'm a little bit scared. What is it?
Crumpy's hair, why is it always perfect?
Mate, you know I get emotional when you bring up hair. What are you talking to me about hair for?
Sorry, mate.
I'm not all that well endowed in that department.
Gee, mate, I didn't mean to offend you, it's just Crumpy's hair, you know, like...
Mate, my forehead's big enough to conduct a super pole on. Anyway, you're right, though, he does use a lot of product, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter what way he turns. It's just always perfect.
Yeah, no matter how hard the wind's blowing.
No, with that, let's go.
Yeah, it is cold, yes.
I've always had a soft spot for Ducati. When I first saw this shape in a magazine back in 93, early 94, it was sensational. It was cutting edge. I always wanted to race one of these machines, and my dream came true in 97 and 98. And in fact, in 1999, on a 996, I won the Australian Championship wearing these exact leathers. That's all history though, because things have changed. This is the latest offering from Ducati, the 1299S, and I'll tell you what, this is a beast. Compared to the older bikes, this is completely new. There's no frame. The frame actually bolts onto the engine in this new 1299S. It's something that's been around for a little while. They had it in the 1199, but of course the big difference between the 1199 and this is the extra grunt that they get out of the engine. Of course, compared to the old 916, this swing arm, of course, they've just changed it a little bit to give it more flex in the right areas. The reason for that, of course, is the extra power that this bike puts out because they just aren't strong enough. Of course, it comes with top quality Öhlins suspension, a TTX rear shock. It's pretty much ready to race. The special thing with the S model, of course, is it's got the semi-active suspension, which is adjusted by the ECU to suit the riding conditions. The 1299, of course, has got traction control, wheelie control, all the usual adjustments that the other superbikes have got. But the big thing about this bike is it's got the Bosch inertia control unit. That helps the bike itself understand the positioning of the bike on the track, and that's a big help when it comes to making the traction control and all those other systems work well. Ducati have always used Brembo brakes, and of course, that's the brakes from the 90s. They were very good. But look at this, when you compare it to the monoblock M50s of modern era, there's just no comparison. These things are made to stop and stop quick. Ducati's DNA hasn't changed since the 70s, whether it be one of these 748s, 916 shapes through to the 1098. But I tell you what, it's certainly changed with the technology that has gone into these new 1299s. Inside the engine, there's even a vacuum pump to get that little bit of extra horsepower out and take the pressure out of the inside of the engine. And that is what makes this thing so special. It really is cutting edge.
I've actually ridden one of these on the road before. The track's a different story. Let's see what it's got.
I've ridden a lot of Ducatis at this Barbagallo circuit, but this is the first time I've ridden a road bike, and I'm already impressed with the 1299 Ducati. It's really got a good throttle feeling, and that torque is absolutely amazing. It doesn't matter what RPM you're at, you just twist the throttle and it gets you out of trouble. Changing gears on this thing is really easy with Ducati's quick shift system. It just allows you to go up and down the box without touching the clutch. But once again, the torque and the handling, I was expecting this thing to be, I don't know, maybe not as nimble as it was because of the 1299, but it's a very nimble machine. And the way that you can just tip into the corners, it really does give a good balanced feel. The power up the hill and over the top of this crest here at Barbagallo really does get a bit of a mumbo on. And man, oh man, I can feel that wheelie control cutting in. The braking is sensational. You know what? It really handles well over the bumps as well, and I can feel that semi-active suspension changing to suit my needs.
This thing is a torque monster. I love it. It's been a long time since I've ridden a Ducati, but just the difference between this and a four-cylinder machine, it really does have a lot of torque at the bottom end of the power range. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but when you do, it's a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us on 7, mate. Welcome back to Barbagallo Raceway, round 4 of the Australian Superbike Championship. Here's Jason on the grid.
You made a blinder of a start in the first race, but you weren't quite able to keep the pace of the others up front.
No, same as all weekend. I sort of, you know, every session 3 or 4 tenths a lap on the fastest guys. So, yeah, sometimes you've got to adjust your goals. Like you can't win every race, and that particular race was the goal was to, you know, try and average inside that 3 tenths mark a lap, and I did that. But yeah, just close to the podium. But yeah, it's easy to see what happens, and when you see the coverage, it's just a bit of a downer for us at the moment. But the bike handles well, and we've got good track speed. It's hard for us to fight in a race at the moment.
Troy Herfoss with Jason Crump. Troy, getting to the front in the opening race before eventually finishing in 4th position behind Mike Jones, Wayne Maxwell and Glenn Allerton. They embark on their warm-up lap, a recap of the grid, the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship. Jones, Maxwell and Allerton, Herfoss, Falzon and Halliday. Now we look for row number 3, Burke, Elliott and Walters. Row 4, Stronach, Stauffer and Senior. Frost, Hampton and Chambers on row 5. Gibson, Pettit and Keogh. And Harrison, Spiteri and Berry. Raj Sarin on the BMW. At the back on bike number 20. Of course, he did crash in the previous race. Conditions here, 17 degrees, track temperature 26 degrees. Race 2 and we're underway. Jones and again Maxwell dominating proceedings early. Herfoss, more of the same. He's incredible up on the inside. He takes the race lead. We immediately switch to the onboard camera out the back of the Mike Jones entry.
Yeah, that was a little bit better start also for Mike Jones. He's managed to slot himself up into 3rd position. He was back a bit further than that in race 1. Things to consider in this race though, David. Track temperature has changed. It was 18 degrees in race 1, quite cool. Now it's gone up to 26, so we could see a different story this time round.
So the Crank Protein Honda of Troy Herfoss leading the Yamaha Factory Racing R1 of Wayne Maxwell. Then it's Mike Jones in 3rd, Daniel Falzon. And then a wall of bikes coming through. Now they charge down the hill, Yamaha Motorcycle Insurance Straight heading onto the main straight here at Barbagallo Raceway. At the back, we look at the Mike Jones Desmo Sport Ducati entry. What a weekend the reigning Australian champion is having. Herfoss in charge of proceedings here, lap 2 of 20, race 2, round 4.
Well, of course, Herfoss has had a little bit of time between race 1 and 2 here today to perhaps make a couple of little changes. He says that he needs to find 0.3 of a lap. Well, he's doing a good job out front at the moment. But as we saw in race 1 here at Barbagallo, he was able to get the jump and stay out the front for a couple of laps, and then the others hunted him down.
On board with Daniel Falzon now, continuing on in his good form this weekend in Western Australia. A word on Jamie Stauffer, struggling a bit by his normally quite competitive standards. He's of course running top 10. Meanwhile, Mike Jones goes to the front. But Stauffer very much on the comeback trail from injury. And this is a physical track, Steve, with plenty of corners and a lot of work for the riders to do. So he's possibly feeling the pinch.
Yeah, he absolutely is feeling the pinch at the moment. It's a very physical track, and the lap times, it's less than a minute a lap, 57 seconds a lap, 55 seconds a lap around here. So these guys are very, very busy, and there's lots of action. And as we saw just a minute ago, the amount of guys racing together in a group because of the short lap time, the nature of this circuit, it means that you just do not get a rest. There's always somebody trying to overtake you.
Fantastic onboard vision from Glenn Allerton's bike. Glenn running in 4th position. Falzon is next. The other riders go through Yamaha Motor Finance corner. So Mike Jones leader in advance of Troy Herfoss.
Maxwell got a good drive up the hill then too, and look at that, he's hard on the brakes and he's just gone past Herfoss. Not much Herfoss could do about that.
For Halliday running very respectably in this one, as is once again Ben Burke. How would you describe the season of Ben Burke thus far as we look at the Suzuki replay of the start?
Yeah, I think that, Ben Burke's had a great season. I mean, there he is, once again, another great start from the Kawasaki rider in the top 4 or 5 off the line. Definitely, a development year for Ben and the Kawasaki. I think he can be proud. Next year, he's going to definitely be one to look out for.
Can't wait for next year already. This championship has taken a quantum leap in the space of 18 months. Full credit to Motorcycling Australia and the hard-working crew at the helm of the championship. Now, Maxwell, he's got something to say to Mike Jones. He is serious about what he's doing here this weekend, and he goes back to the front.
Yeah, that was a great overtaking move by Wayne heading into the bowl, and he's pulled it off. He's got a good drive out, up over the hill and into turn 7 here, and he leads the pack at the moment. Crew Halliday right up there in this group this time round.
Replay of Maxwell going to the front. We'll take a break. Stay with us on 7 Mate. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Barbagallo Raceway. Lap 15 of 20, race 2, round 4 of the Yamaha Motor Finance Australian Superbike Championship. Wayne Maxwell is still in charge of proceedings here. Mike Jones second and Glenn Allerton third. It's a tremendous race, Steve Martin.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. Wayne at the moment is absolutely full of confidence. He can lead the race, but he's also got something in the bag to attack if one of the other two guys go past. And Allerton, talking of attacking, he looks like he's going to try and make a move up the inside of Mike Jones. Can't do it here.
Steve, will stay with this onboard shot. Take us through it.
Right, second, third, fourth gear down this Barbagallo front straight. Back through the gearbox now into turn 1. Got to let the bike flow into here. That's what Barbagallo's all about. Not squeezing the brake lever hard, but using the front tyre to wash off speed. Change of direction on the gas all the way through here, then blind into the left here. You can see Maxwell in front, and there's a few back markers to contend with as well, so not an easy lap. But that does allow Allerton to catch up. A blind right-hander here doesn't help Allerton again. Over the crest of the hill you go, then down into the bowl. Very critical to try and get this right, because if you can get the bowl right here, and you can see Allerton now, he's drifted wide to lift his bike up on the meat of the tyre and hard on the gas. You get great drive up this hill, and look at the drive that Maxwell's got over the crest, and set yourself up for braking into turn 7 and the last turn. But Allerton just a little bit too far back that time through to attack Mike Jones in front.
Fantastic job, Steve Martin. And Maxwell under heavy pressure here. Jones very good down the main straight. Allerton not far away. The three protagonists up front, millimetres apart on occasions.
Yeah, there's only 3 laps left of this, and they're less than 3/10 in it between Wayne Maxwell out front and his teammate, of course, Glenn Allerton just behind, with the lone Ducati of Mike Jones sandwiched in the middle.
Great stuff. Here's
There he
Allerton
goes.
up on the inside of Mike Jones. Can he pull it off? Indeed he can. Jones left just enough room. The Yamaha slides up on the inside of the Ducati, and it's R1's running 1-2.
Yeah, well, he knew that it was possible. He saw Wayne Maxwell do it earlier in the race, and he took a deep breath and dived up the inside of Mike Jones, and he made that move stick.
Quality rider, Allerton.
He
I
is.
know I'm stating the obvious. Cool, calm, so good.
Well, he's a 3-time winner so far this year, and we've got 2 3-time winners now, Maxwell and Allerton, and they're vying to see who will be the 4th-time winner.
Indeed. Of course, Mike Jones winning race 1 today. Herfoss winning in Goulburn. So we've seen plenty of different guys on the top step of the podium.
And also now we've got 3 different manufacturers that have won as well. So that's, just goes to show how the rules work out really well and even in this Superbike class.
Augurs well. Whilst I've got the chance to, I want to congratulate Peter Doyle, newly appointed Chief Executive Officer of Motorcycling Australia. Of course, Peter needs no introduction in motorcycle racing worldwide. There's nothing he hasn't done. There's nothing he doesn't know. And I'm sure he'll steer the ship in the right direction as Maxwell manages to put a lap on a back marker effortlessly and didn't cost him any time at all.
No, Maxwell, once again, inch perfect. I guess I get tired of saying it, but he really has, in the last couple of meetings, been unbeatable. And it's Allerton's chance now to fight back. We saw a similar opportunity last time out at Eastern Creek, but Allerton couldn't do anything about it. Now's his chance.
And he needs to get a move on, doesn't he? There is just a touch over 1 lap remaining in this second race. Gee, Maxwell's riding hard. You can see the back of the bike bouncing around there under the load of brakes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I see how deep he goes into the bowl. He's very strong on braking, but he's also good at getting on the gas and finding grip from the rear of the Dunlop Shog Yamaha.
So back onto the main section they run.
Bit wide there for Allerton. I reckon he definitely had it sideways going in. That's definitely not going to help him as they head into the final lap. He needs to be as close as he can be now.
Last lap board now, and we're bathed in brilliant sunshine at Barbagallo Raceway in Western Australia. I can't see anyone catching Wayne Maxwell, to be honest. It'll be a disaster in lap traffic or a major error committed by the rider to enable his teammate to draw level. Maxwell is enjoying a purple patch of form. I can't see him making that error.
No, definitely not. They're on lap record pace. Of course, the lap record held by Daniel Falzon, but Maxwell is very, very close to that at 55.4. He'll be aiming to get that as well, I reckon.
Yeah, Falzon recording a 55.446 for the race lap record. And that was, of course, here this weekend at Barbagallo. So across the line, and it is Wayne Maxwell. Race 2 winner here at Barbagallo Raceway. And defeating Glenn Allerton, his teammate. It's a familiar script, really. Mike Jones. Then Daniel Falzon finishing strongly in 4th to get the better of Troy Herfoss, who once again, despite a blistering start, missing out on a top 3 spot. Drew Halliday was next. And Ben Burke, Jamie Stauffer, Matty Walters and Braden Elliott sneaking inside the top 10. The remaining runners you will now see headed up by Adam Chambers on the Kawasaki. But full credit to everyone concerned, the racing here has been absolutely enthralling throughout the day, and we do hope you've enjoyed our coverage on 7 Mates. On that note, we will take a short break and then come back and hear from the winner right here at Barbagallo. So back at Barbagallo Raceway in Queensland, Wayne Maxwell winning race 2. That means he also takes the lead in the championship at the completion of 4 rounds. And speaking of the championship, here it is. He's 5 points clear of Glenn Allerton, then Troy Herfoss in 3rd and Mike Jones in 4th. Let's head down and hear from the winner.
Double round winner now, Wayne Maxwell, backing up your result at Eastern Creek with another round win and taking the lead in the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Like to come away leading the championship is probably the most important thing. You know, now I'm that guy with the pressure that has to lead, and I've been here a couple of times before, so we just got to, you know, just keep working away, chipping away, and trying to just, you know, do session by session. And this weekend was our biggest challenge yet, I feel, and to come out and be able to win a race. And I thought it was going to be the track where we'd really struggle and try to get on top. You know, Glenn was super strong here, and obviously Mike was last year. But yeah, we were lucky enough today to. You know, we created our own luck as we went, and yeah, definitely to come out with a win is a great feeling, and yeah, press on to the next one.
He's in great form, Wayne Maxwell. The next round, August 5 to 7 at Morgan Park in Queensland. Can't wait for that, Steve.
No, Morgan Park, an absolute fantastic track. You can get close to the action as well. Great for viewing and a great racing circuit. Really looking forward to heading up there.
You'll see the coverage here of that round on 7 Mate. It screens on August 20 at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. On behalf of our entire crew, including pit reporter Jason Crump, thanks for joining us. Catch you next time.